So with that being said, we do have a chance to turn it around. These first 3 games were tough first 3 games in the conference, and I understand that. I'm not being totally doom and gloom and trying to paint this out to be, hey, we have no chance, but we've got to get it turned around. We've got to get it turned around in these next 3 games because these next 3 games are games that we can win. These next 3 games are tough opponents, no doubt. Texas, South Carolina, and Arkansas, 100% tough games to win, but with all 3 of them also struggling in conference play, we've got a chance to turn things around. Now, if we
You are now listening to the War Rapport Podcast Network.
The Oklahoma Sooners fall to Georgia. That means they start off 0-3 in conference play. I know it seems like maybe we were overreacting a little too early, but now it's time to react, and now it's time to really take a look into this team and their future. Where are they going to go from here? How are they going to fare in the SEC when it comes to men's basketball? Let's talk about it here on the Sooner Spotlight. What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome into another episode of Sooner Spotlight. Very excited to have you here. Again, not exciting news to bring to you as the Oklahoma Sooners fall yet again in conference play. Not looking good in the SEC, and I'm being told left and right that I'm just being pessimistic, that we should be more optimistic going forward, that, hey, we've got some teams ahead that we might be able to pull off some wins. I know it's early in the season, and I understand, and I didn't mean for the last video that we talked about after the Texas A&M loss to be total doom and gloom about this Oklahoma Sooners men's basketball team. But it definitely feels that way, and it came across that way because, hey, there's not a whole lot of good to talk about. But before we get started, first, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, @RealJoshMahler, for all updates on the show and so much more. We're also now on Instagram. That needs to be updated on the overlay down below, but we're now on Instagram. You can find a Sooner Spotlight on Instagram. We're going to start to post more over there with clips from the show. We're going to post updates on the show and specifically everything for the show on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can find more just from me. That's just where I post my own personal stuff between college football, pretty much everything. I post a lot about the Oklahoma Sooners, but pretty much post just about anything over there, and you can find out more over there. If you would, go ahead and, like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below. Let me know how you feel like the Sooners are going to fare out in the upcoming season in men's basketball, because I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this team. I mean, maybe you don't care about basketball. Maybe we should just stop talking about basketball. I don't know. Let me know, because this is a podcast that we try to make for the people rather than talking at you, and so we want to hear from you. But if you would, another great way to help support this show, if you want to contribute towards this show, you can become a member today, and you can support this show financially. If you become a member today just for $4.99, that link is down in the description down below. There should be something up in the top corner as well for you to click on. So if you want to join and become a member, we're going to have all kinds of new stuff over there exclusively for members, but we're not going to take anything away from you guys. Please don't think that this is a way for me just to grab your money and not give you content without paying for it. You're still going to get the same content that I'm releasing, and I'm still going to keep on doing everything that I possibly can absolutely for free. And I want you guys to rest assured knowing that we are not going to force you to go behind a paywall just to hear what I have to say or build a community. It's just we're going to have extra stuff for supporting this show, and it's just more of a thanks for those who are willing to support. Otherwise, you can go over to our merch store on Soonerspotlight.com, check out the merch, and you can support us there. You can always donate down below, because now we are monetized on YouTube, where you are allowed to donate to us. That's a great way to help us out. It's just becoming a member is just a sure way for us to build a community, and we want to do extra stuff for those of you who are willing to support the show. And we want to keep on growing. We want to do more things that would benefit you as Sooner fans and build a community where all of us as Oklahoma fans can be together. And we're even going to do some watch parties and things like that of games coming up in the future. All kinds of fun stuff planned exclusively for members. We're going to post some of that stuff early to where you guys can see it, but there's going to be all kinds of stuff. We want you guys to check that out and feel free. Go over there and check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to kind of offer more to people who are willing and able to support the show directly and kind of help us keep on building up. But let's go ahead and get into the topic for today. And first start off by talking about the Oklahoma Sooners. Starting off 0-3 in SEC play. I mean, it's tough right now. It's not looking good for the Sooners, and I know. Again, I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm not trying to make this seem like, hey, we just have no hope going in the future. I'm not trying to be a doom and gloom sports podcaster. I want to be all positive about my team as much as I possibly can, but we have to be realistic about this, and I'm going to call it out as I see it. I'm seeing signs of the way that we're losing, and I've had discussions with some of you as listeners and even over on social media about the Oklahoma Sooners going forward. And hey, don't be so down on them. This is early in the season. They were never going to go undefeated, and I understand that. I didn't expect them to go undefeated. I would have even expected them to possibly lose all three of these games, and there's many games in the future that I could understand Oklahoma losing, and I could still feel positive about those losses, but the way that we're losing is what's concerning me. The things that we're losing on is what's concerning me, and that's ultimately where it comes down to for the Oklahoma Sooners so far, that hey, we need to kind of sound the alarm that hey, I understand that it's early in the season, that we still have a lot going for us in this season. We do have a talented roster. We do have players that are willing and able to keep on going, but first, starting off losing to Alabama by 28 points, losing 107-79, that's not a good look for the Oklahoma Sooners. And so that's one thing that we look at that, hey, I don't like the fact that we got blown out in our first SEC game. That's definitely not a good thing. But then you go on to Texas A&M, where, yes, it was only a 2-point loss, and that's what I'm being told is that, hey, calm down. We only lost by 2 to a top 10 team, and I totally understand that. And I would not really feel so bad about that 2-point loss if it wasn't that it felt like a 20-point loss because we were up 18 in the second half. We were up by 18 points and let that completely evaporate and allow Texas A&M to work themselves back into the lead, and that's really ultimately what concerns me about what was happening there in that game. So that's what I'm concerned about. That's what I want us to understand as Oklahoma fans, is that it's not that we're losing, it's how we're losing. Getting blown out against Alabama and getting completely destroyed in the second half, not able to close out against Texas A&M. And now you go to Georgia, another game where it's just that second half we weren't able to close out. And we're going to talk more about it. So let's just get into it. I mean, you look at how this team has played. I mean, it's not good. One thing I can say is that at least the defense didn't completely let up. They didn't allow more than 80 points, only allowed 72 points. That's a decent defensive game. It's just that the offense blew it a lot. The offense, I mean, honestly, if the offense wasn't doing so poorly, the defense might have been able to even hold them to even fewer points. But it's just a fact that you have the offense not being able to do anything. That's what hurts. And the offense really was only able to put up 62 points against Georgia. And again, it's a double-digit loss in the way that we're losing. It's not that we're losing to Georgia because, again, Georgia's a good team. I understand that. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but we have to understand that also you can't lose by double digits. You can't lose because you're just getting outmanned, that you're not big enough down low. These are concerning things that once we get to March, we want to. The end goal is that we can get to March and at least win a couple of games in March. That's ultimately what I'm hoping for from this team. I don't really have expectations that they would win a national championship with this team this year, but this would be a foundation-setting year in the SEC where we can grow and become a better team with guys like Jeremiah Fears, who's probably going to move on to the league. But if players see, if younger players see a player like Jeremiah Fears come in and have success there, you've got guys that are able to transfer in, guys like Goodine that we got, and even Kobe Elvis. We got, I'm trying to think of a few other guys that we've had come in, but, we've had some other guys step in and come in as transfers. And that's what you want to see from Oklahoma, and ultimately that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a good foundation-setting year where, hey, we can go and pitch that, hey, we made it to March. We need you to set us apart. We need you to win one more game in March, and that's how you recruit players. I'm not seeing that from this team right now, and where we're going right now. So that's my concern so far. We won the turnover battle by 1, and so that's a good thing, but we still turned the ball over 12 times. You can win the turnover battle, and that's a good thing. It was only by 1, though, and you're still turning it over in double digits. We need to cut that down to like less than double digits. I'm 9 turnovers I'm okay with, because there's silly things that happen, and sometimes it's just miscommunication, and that's the kind of stuff that happens in basketball. I understand that makes sense where you have 7 to 9 turnovers. Even 10 turnovers would be my max, I guess, depending on how they're coming, as long as you're able to turn it over 15 times. But we were only allowed to turn it over 13 times, and we turned it over ourselves, giving it away 12 times. And the way that these turnovers are coming are pretty sloppy. So, what could have been without the turnovers? What could we have done if we didn't turn the ball over so much? That's what I'm concerned about. Jumping into this loss and taking a look at it, again, the reason why I'm concerned about this loss is not because we're losing the game, because, again, I understand we're going against a very tough opponent. Georgia's a good basketball team. It was at Georgia, and they've got one of the most electric atmospheres in college basketball right now. I've seen videos, and I understand that Georgia's going to be tough to beat. I understand that Georgia's got an amazing home atmosphere, and that's tough to go into that environment. But we trailed 19-10 in this game and rallied to go up 36-33 by halftime. That shows me that this team is capable of doing something good. That shows me that this team is able to play with these guys. That tells me that we've got enough talent that we can go on runs. And if we can go on those runs, we can just be consistent. We don't have to keep on firing on all cylinders. You're allowed to have screw-ups and mess-ups and turn the ball over a few times here and there. But what you're not allowed to do is just totally get cold, 100% just cold, not being able to hit anything. Because, going back to that run, that was a 14-3 scoring run, as well as a 5-minute scoring drought for Georgia. We were able to hold them on defense for 5 minutes without letting them score. You don't have to keep on doing that. You can allow maybe a minute and a half there where they're getting the ball 3 possessions and no scores, maybe 2 possessions, no scores, as long as we're able to score on one of those. If we can score 1-2, 1-3, and we kind of keep that consistently going, then we're allowed to let up a little bit of a run here and there every once in a while where they're scoring 2-3. And it's okay, 2-1. And you, as long as you can balance that and keep that consistent, that's how you win games. And we're just not seeing it from the Sooners right now. They were up by 1 point with 11 minutes left in this game, which again tells me that they're able to keep themselves in the game. They're able to compete with these guys. It's just the consistency. The consistency is what we're seeing, and it's really ultimately that consistently leads to this team falling apart. Just like Texas A&M, the game just it went disastrous with ultimately Oklahoma scoring 26 points after half, 26 points, and only shooting 31% in the second half. That's absolutely terrible, and you can't get that cold. Again, the fact that we're losing does not bother me so much. It's how we're losing. That's what's concerning me. It's how we're losing. That's what is very concerning. And I don't like that for the Oklahoma Sooners. I hate the fact that we are losing, and we're losing in this kind of manner. We're losing this way. That's what hurts. And hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but it's tough to watch them lose the way that they're losing. Just getting in totally cold streaks where the opposing team is able to just make a big time run on us, and that's why we're losing. It's not because they're just playing a more well-rounded game and just come out ahead. That happens against good opponents. That's okay, but it's not okay to just get completely cold and self-destruct. And that's what I'm seeing from the Sooners. And even despite the struggles at halftime, after halftime, Oklahoma was still within 5 points with 3 minutes left in the game. That's a game that you're capable of coming back from. If you're able to get in a hot streak right there, you're able to win this game, and instead you lose, and you end up losing out those 5 points plus and make that a double-digit loss. They missed 10 of their 12 final shots. So they only, out of their last 12 shots that Oklahoma took, they went on such a cold streak that they only made 2 of them. Again, that's what's concerning about this Oklahoma team. It's not that they're losing. It's how they're losing. It's the fact that they can't close out in the final minutes of the game. That's what's concerning. On top of that, not only did we get into a cold streak again, but we allowed Georgia to get into a hot streak. And that, again, concerning. That's not a good thing to look at. Let's go on to some of the players that we've got and how they're performing. First, starting off with Jeremiah Fears, by far worst performance we've seen from him. And he's not been having a good performance really in the entirety of his SEC debut. And we'll get to how I don't want to be completely destructing. I don't want to be completely maybe demoralizing when I'm talking about Jeremiah Fears. I understand he's just a freshman. We'll get to that as well. But I mean, he's been struggling. He's struggling in shooting and accuracy, just not there. It's not looking like the same guy that we saw in the beginning of the season with those first 13 games. Specifically looking at that Michigan game and what he was able to do there, that's where his name was very well known, and all the hype came around that. Kind of going back in his last 3 games, in the first half of these last 3 games, not looking good. Not looking good at all. He's recorded a mere 5 points in the last 3 games in the first half. So the first half of the last 3 games, only 5 points. That's all he's been able to accumulate. That's not a good stat line to have. And I understand he's a freshman. I understand maybe we shouldn't be so harsh on him, but we know what this guy's capable of. We know what he can do. He went 2 for 17 shooting in the last 3 halves. Again, counting the first half of the last 3 games. 2 for 17 shooting, has 4 turnovers, and with overall, I mean, just not looking great. Let's see. Overall, we've got 11 points. 3 point. This is his average in the last 3 games. 11 points, 3.9 assists per game, and overall, that doesn't seem too bad. But it's coming in the second half. We can't start off fast. If we can start off quicker and get out ahead in the beginning, then we're feeling a little more confident in this. And then also in his last 3 games, his plus-minus stands at minus 44. Minus 44 of a plus-minus. I mean, that's not good. Jeremiah Fears is better than this. And the reason why I'm calling him out is because I know he's better than that. I know what he's capable of doing. We all know what he's capable of. We've seen it this season. We know what he was capable of before coming into this season. So, I mean, I'm calling him out because I know that he's special. I know that he's capable of being a great player. So, I mean, let's see that again. He has 10 turnovers in the last 3 games and shooting only 28% from the floor in the last 3 games. Surprisingly, the Sooners are really performing better without Jeremiah Fears on the court, and I hate to say that. I want to see them perform better when he's on the court, because he is a game-changing player. He is a Trae Young type player. The guy that can step in there, or even Buddy Hield. I actually got his jersey right over my shoulder here. A Buddy Hield type of player. He is that kind of game-changing player. We need to see that when he's on the court in these SEC games. Because these SEC games are ultimately what's going to to matter when it comes down to the season and leading into March. That's what's going to matter the most. Preseason, non-conference games don't really matter as much. You want to perform well in them. When we did, we looked outstanding. Those first 13 games had us as Oklahoma fans feeling like this could be a really special Sooners team going forward. And again, it might be really unfair to judge him just because he is just a true freshman. Maybe being harsh on him is not the right move right now because he's a true freshman. It's his first 3 games in the SEC, but he's played against good teams. Louisville, I think, was a good team. They've had a tough break since playing them, but I think that was a good team. Michigan, obviously, good team, top 25 team. I think they've been going on a tear here in the last few games. And we know what Jeremiah Fears. Again, we know what he's capable of. We expected him to be a leader, an offensive leader. We really expected him to be the guy that's contributing the most to this team, and he hasn't been doing that. There was talks of being a potential lottery pick during his non-conference play this season. And we're not talking about just from him being recruited out of high school. We're talking about this season. In non-conference play, we expected him to be a lottery pick, and that was a talk around the nation about how special this kid could be. He's not lived up to that hype in conference games. And again, that's what matters the most. But going on from Jeremiah Fears, also Bryson Goodine, coming off of a career performance and what he was able to do, an impressive 34-point performance, went on a tear. I think 9 3-pointers in that game against Texas A&M, really led the way and helped the Sooners be in that game and come out to a big lead at that. Again, a game that we blew an 18-point lead and ended up losing by 2. But in this game, he struggled. He struggled significantly. He struggled very bad and scored just 3 points on 1 for 7 shooting, all from the 3-point line. It was like we were trying to get him hot, and it just wasn't working. We just kept on trying it, and I don't blame that strategy because he's capable of getting hot. Let's try to get him hot again because we need those 3-pointers, especially in games like this. But you live and die by the 3, and he was killing us from the 3. 1 for 7 from 3-point land while on the court. Missed several very good scoring opportunities too. Many times where it was there. We could have had something going, but it just didn't work out. So Bryson Goodine, another player that just couldn't get hot when we needed him to last night. Now, one player got to look at a player that I think kept us in this game and did a lot of good was Mohamed Wegu. And I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name properly, but Mohamed. He's an Alabama player that came over to Oklahoma. He's used to playing in the SEC. Very good player, and I'm surprised we don't have him playing a little bit more, especially after this performance. I think he needs to be on the court more often. I liked what I saw from him. I know what he's capable of because he's used to SEC play. I want to see him on the court more often. He contributed 8 of his 10 points in the second half. That was what was keeping us alive in the second half. He was the hot player in that second half. He also got 3 rebounds and 2 assists, made up for 31% of the Sooners' total offensive scoring in that second half. So, overall, I want to see Mohamed Wegu, and again, please help me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I'll try to look it up too, see if I can find pronunciation. Maybe I'll message Parker Thune. I feel like he's the guy to ask for pronunciations, but. He's a guy we need to see more of based on what I'm seeing. And maybe I'm totally wrong on him. Maybe he needs to stay at where he's at. But it's just I feel like there's something not working in conference play, and we've got to switch it up. And I'm not really seeing much of an adjustment at all. I think we saw something that was working, and we keep on trying to force it. But what you have to do in conference play is keep on adjusting because teams are going to catch on to what you're doing. And especially when you're playing that team twice, the second time that you go play them, they're going to be expecting those same tendencies if you don't switch it up and keep on adapting to the play to the game that you're playing, and especially in conference play. So I think that's very big. Other team contributions, you can look at Kobe Elvis and what he was able to do. A very good Very good performance from him and Duke Miles. Kobe Elvis had 14 points on 6 of 11 from the field. Looked very good last night. And then also Duke Miles shooting 5 of 11, also scoring 14 points for us. I like what I'm seeing from both of them, and I know both of them are able to get hot at good times. Kobe Elvis kind of cooled down in the last couple of games, but then really found his stride again. Let's hope that he can keep that going, because we need these guys. We need guys like Kobe Elvis and Duke Miles to keep on going and keep on getting hot. Just because I think they are very capable of helping this team when we need it the most. They're very capable, and so we want to keep on seeing them get hot like this, stay above 500 shooting. I know Duke Miles wasn't quite there, but he still had a good game, 14 points. We'll take that any day of the week. Also, Jalen Moore. I mean, he's the guy that he was our leading scorer in non-conference play. He was one of those guys that we could rely on to go in there and really do something special for us in conference play. So let's keep on seeing that from him, because in this game, he had 17 points, scored 6 points after halftime, which wasn't a lot, but we need scorers. We need to be able to spread that ball around, and especially if Jeremiah Fears isn't going to be able to get hot again, at the very least, we can keep on spreading that ball around and start to warm Jeremiah Fears up little by little, get him more comfortable with the game, and then throw him in there when we need him the most. Right now, it feels like we're not playing enough of our bench players, and we've had a lot of issues. So we've got to keep on going on through that. But overall, let's go back to this. Kind of starting off, kind of going back to this game, and looking at a couple of things that we've got going for the Sooners here, and some things that were kind of challenging for us in this game specifically. First, kind of going through an analysis of the fouls. I feel like since SEC play, it's been leaning towards, it's been an uphill battle for the Oklahoma Sooners. And I don't want to say that they're unfair towards Oklahoma, because I don't think that's necessarily the case. Not only that, but I think both teams are going to have unfair calls when you get into college basketball, and when you get into conference play and SEC play, you're going to have both teams battling it out. You're going to be aggressive towards each other, and you're going to run into these battles, and that's okay. We're gonna have those battles, and we expect that. We expect to have tough battles, up and down the court. But it does seem like we've had challenges. Sooners didn't benefit from favorable calling at all, and they haven't all season, or really all conference, but all these last 3 games in conference play. It seems like it's been an uphill battle for Oklahoma. No favorable calls. If it's a 50-50 call, it's going against the Sooners every time, and that's not a gripe. That's not a complaint towards the refereeing, the officiating. It's just what I'm seeing. They were called for 25 fouls in this game against Georgia, where Georgia was only called for 16 of them. It resulted in the Bulldogs attempting 31 free throw attempts. 31 of them. We're getting them to the charity line for 31 extra points, extra possible points plus, because there was a couple of one-on-ones as well. Oklahoma only took 9 free throws. 9 shots from the charity stripe. That's we've got to get ourselves to the line, because those are easier points. And so ultimately, I think that's one way we're going to have to look. We're going to have to look to get to the charity line. Not necessarily forcing our way there, but hey, we can find ways to get ourselves there. And so that's something that we're going to have to do. And ultimately, I think the impact of free throw differences in a game, it's going to change the outcome. When you look at the free throw differences and allowing them 31 shots to our 9, that's a huge gap. If we could have just cut them down on half of those, where they're only shooting maybe 16 of them, this is a totally different game. It's a totally different game. So free throws matter. Getting to the charity stripe also matters. More challenges that we've had is just a big man rotation. We've been talking about this really all season long. You saw that big time against Michigan. It just felt like they were manhandling Sam Godwin, down low, and even Northweather as well. It just felt like problems with the big men. Sam Godwin started off in non-conference play where it seemed like he was very aggressive, and in that Michigan game, we saw him get more aggressive and really force his way in there. We're having issues with both these guys now. The big man rotation, it seems like a big concern because we don't have much of a rotation. Earlier on in the season, preseason, I thought we had enough big men that, hey, I feel like we're able to have a couple of bigs on the court at all times. I haven't seen that much. Luke Norweather hasn't really been effective at all, and that's kind of hurting. It's not that he's not given the chance. I don't know. Maybe we're not giving him enough chance. Maybe we need to give him more of a chance and get him out there and get him comfortable being on the court to make him effective. Maybe that's the case, but ultimately we haven't seen it from him yet. And Sam Godwin, he's been struggling to make an impact. We've seen him big in certain games. Again, going back to that Michigan game, I think he was a huge component to that win. Even backing up to the tournament that we had down in Hawaii, I thought Sam Godwin was a huge part of that tournament win. And so again, just struggles with the big men, and we're not seeing it, especially in conference play in these last 3 games. Also, we're seeing Sam Godwin kind of struggle with ongoing foul trouble, and that's going to happen with your big men. If you expect them to play physical, they're going to get into foul trouble, and that's okay as long as we've got other guys to go to. And so far, it just seems like we haven't had other big men to step in there and to play those big positions when they come into the game. So I mean, it's a big thing, and I mean, this is something that we've seen in the last 2 seasons, specifically with Sam Godwin and our bigs. We struggled. The reason why we don't do good in conference play and we can't quite get past that notch to make it into the tournament is because we've struggled with bigs. Obviously, we've struggled trying to really all over the court. It seems like our guard position seems to kind of fizzle out towards the mid to late season. And then, of course, I think the biggest one, if I can change one thing, it's not really our guard play, because I think our guard play overall has been okay and it's manageable and there's things that we can fix, but we can fix that. Our bigs, I don't really know what to do with that, with these big men. So we've got to figure that out. Something that's we just haven't seen that consistency. That consistency is impacting the games big time, and we need to see that consistency roll around. Obviously, our rebounding issues keep on going as well. The overall rebound margins have been so vastly different in these 3 conference games. We've struggled with turnovers, and it's been a big concern, but the rebounds, that's what's been killing us the most. Ultimately, I mean, we've got to do better rebounding the ball. It's just we've been getting killed again here in this Georgia game. Getting out-rebounded 41-33. We've definitely closed the gap compared to what we've seen in the last several games, but it still doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good at all. Going back to Texas A&M, they were out-rebounded us 32-27. That was a little bit better of a game, but when you go and look at the really ugly loss that we had against Alabama, that's the one that stood out the most, and they killed us 51-26. We're losing in the turnover battle nonstop to these teams. We're negative in that turnover battle every single time to these conference games, and that's the biggest problem. If we can't get the ball back on offense, or if we allow them to get a second chance and get in there and get a score now because we give them a second or third chance, which happens way too often in these games, that's where we're struggling. That's where we're going to have the most problems. We've got to fix that. That's got to be the top priority. And again, the bigs between Sam Godwin and Northweather, I don't know who else we want to add in there for big guys that need to be getting rebounds. We're not aggressive on the boards, and that's got to change if we're going to start win games in conference play. It's been a huge issue, and even in years past. We've really lost momentum from the start of the season. We started off 13-0, started off very hot, and now I feel like the team is demoralized. Because, again, they've lost 3 games in a row, but they've lost them in a way that's just unacceptable. And they know that. This team knows that. Porter Moser knows that. And you look forward into some of the games that we've got. We've got a few games on the schedule. Arkansas, South Carolina, and Texas, all 3, if I'm correct on this, I believe all 3 are 0-3 in the conference so far. Let's check. South Carolina, Arkansas are both 0-3, and then also Texas 0-3 in conference. So with that being said, we do have a chance to turn it around. These first 3 games were tough first 3 games in the conference, and I understand that. I'm not being totally doom and gloom and trying to paint this out to be, hey, we have no chance, but we've got to get it turned around. We've got to get it turned around in these next 3 games, because these next 3 games are games that we can win. These next 3 games are tough opponents, no doubt. Texas, South Carolina, and Arkansas, 100% tough games to win, but with all three of them also struggling in conference play, we've got a chance to turn things around. Now, if we lose this next game, that's gonna be even more demoralizing. It's putting us further in a hole. You know, lose a game after that and start off 0-5, you're really deep in a hole. And now I don't know how you get out of that and get yourself going to where you can close out the end of the season on a good note. So ultimately, we need these next 3 games where we're going against opponents where we have a very good chance to go in there and beat these guys. We need to use these next 3 games to get ourselves back on track, get us going in the right direction, so that way we can close out this season in a way that's noteworthy. Close this season out in a way that we can feel good about it, and going forward. Again, this just being not necessarily a national championship winning team, but at the very least, what we need to have from this is a foundation setting team that gets us going and starts to bring in some bigger recruits going forward to where we can start to dream about that national championship game. Hey Sooner fans, did you enjoy this video? Well, go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you doing if you've made it this far and haven't already? You should be able to find that subscribe button over here. And then if you want to see full episodes, we've got those up here and clips right down here. So go check that out. But we thank you all so much for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.